Ano ai ke aloha ya kākou. Thank you for joining us today. Governor Josh Green, along with Lieutenant Governor Sylvia Luke, Department of Human Services Deputy Director Joseph Campos, legislative leaders, and other state and nonprofit officials are here to make a very important announcement that will help many of Hawaii's most vulnerable residents. The announcement will reveal the details of a coordinated set of emergency measures to protect Hawaii's families affected by the ongoing federal government shutdown, as well as the potential disruption of federal food assistance programs. Facilitated questions and answers with media will follow promptly after remarks conclude. Without further ado, it is my honor to welcome Governor Josh Green.
Aloha. A lot to get through here. Joined by leaders from across our branches of government and the private sector. I'm so grateful to be with everyone. Thank you, LG. Thank you, Senate President, Madam Speaker, team, Joe. Important things to get through today, so I want to basically dive right in. Look, but the top priority that we're addressing today is protecting Hawaii's families during a federal shutdown and ensuring that no one lose access to food, housing, or essential services. People are hurting. We need to make sure as we get into November, December, that we support one another. So first of all, thank you everyone for supporting your neighbors. The federal shutdown has been very hard on people. You've heard about some of the programs. We're going to go through some more details, but we do have a major new program that we're going to announce today. Next slide, please. So we're announcing the Hawaii Food Assistance Program. I'm going to sign an executive order here in about 1 second. Okay, so the Hawaii Food Assistance Program is going to provide $250 of emergency relief payments that will go for food for each eligible individual that has been a beneficiary of SNAP. So if a family of 5 people have been getting SNAP benefits, they will get $1,250 on or before November 14th, maybe a couple days sooner. We're working very hard. Special thanks to our SNAP team, and they've really done, a great job. Thank you, brother. So it's going to cost $42.2 million. I'll break that down a little bit more. Most of that is going to come from monies we already have available to us in the general funds, some from TANF funds. This will help people because we do not have any guarantees right now that the federal government is going to open again this week, next week. We just don't know. And there are a lot of people that are going to be hungry if they don't get their SNAP benefits. So again, a family of 5 would get $1,250. A family of 3 would get $750, and so on. This will help people bridge the gap during this pause in federal SNAP funding. So right now I'm signing Executive Order 2509 to help our families who are most vulnerable. So that is going to do a couple things. Just so people know, there's 161,400 people who receive SNAP benefits in Hawaii every month. That includes 27,910 families and 62,647 children. It's devastating. We are losing $57 million a month of SNAP benefits with this shutdown. So we needed to get people some coverage and some guarantees. Even if the federal government gets their act together and somehow resolves their differences, we're going forward with this because people are really hurting, and it's been a tough couple months. So that's very important. That is new. Let's go to the next slide. We also, as a part of this executive order, are supporting this overarching relief program. We're calling it the Hawai'i Relief Program. So we came to the conclusion that TANF, Temporary Assistance for Needy Family dollars, is available to those who are struggling. So I've authorized $100 million to go over the course of the next 4 months to families to help them with housing or their utilities, which could be their electric or their water. So if someone qualifies, and we're going to talk about how you qualify, then they will be able to offset a lot of their monthly costs so they don't get displaced, don't lose their housing. They can still pay their mortgage. Again, there's been a lot of uncertainty across our economy. This is important to mention. We have $400 million in the TANF program. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Trista. Incredible work. So we have monies, and this will help a lot of people. We've contracted quickly with Catholic Charities Hawaii and Maui Economic Opportunity to administer this program. When people have questions, they're going to call 211, and they're going to get extra answers. I'm going to give you more answers right now. Next slide. To qualify, again, call 211. We have a lot of people. Was it 250 people that are going to be working the lines that I heard? A large number of people. There's already people calling in. There's going to be a lot of volunteers. Be patient, but you're going to get the details now. To meet the income limits, to qualify for this, up to $6,000 per month to offset rent, up to $2,000 to offset electric, for example. If you are a family of 4 and making less than, it's 300% of federal poverty. If you're making less than $110,940 or $9,245, that family of 4, they would qualify. If you've been furloughed, if someone lost their job recently, and that will help you pay your rent so that you can afford your food until that gets sorted. And you can see it goes up as you have a larger family. It goes up $18,990 for each additional family member if you have some gigantic family. Okay, so that is a very important part of what we're doing. This, again, these dollars are going to all come from TANF, and we're going to continue this program until that money is exhausted. It will help us deal with poverty in Hawaii. Next slide. We're also going to support our food banks. I'm going to let them break this down a lot more. This is just the beginning. $2 million goes to support Hawaii's food banks right now. There's a special program the speaker will talk about, the Farm to Families program. I'll leave that to her. I will say this. We've had extraordinary support from Speaker, from Senate President, from the Finance Chair and the Ways and Means Chair. It's all in the moment because we are all hoping that the federal government would reopen before we came to these deadlines. So their support has been extraordinary, and if I may, I've been getting the best positive pressure from the First Lady to care for people and to make sure food security is at, kind of top of mind. Next slide. A couple other things. As people certify for SNAP and TANF, we want to make sure in the schools we're providing extra meals, so people should apply for extra meals. If there's any question at all that you or your family are not getting enough food and your kids are in public school, just apply. Let's get everyone breakfast and lunch, period. That's very important. We've been expanding those programs. We're going to expand them and this opportunity even more cost-free for families so that the kids are not hungry. We also, like I said, are activating that 211 line. It's going to be from 7 a.m. till 10 p.m. And it's going to include holidays, too, if you have questions. It's in the moment. If you're okay now, but you're not okay a week from now, call. If you've been struggling a lot, call today. Also, we have Act 310 funding. I'm going to let the House and Senate address that. That's $50 million in grants. We've had lots of applications already from nonprofits, and I'm very grateful for their work last session to pass that. Next slide. Okay. That's pretty much what I've got. Look, the main thrust of this is we're putting about $145 million total package in to make sure that people are food secure and housing secure, and we're going to continue to put positive pressure on the federal government to resolve their differences and kind of get back to this new normal, whatever that may be, because our people have been hurting. Thank you, guys.
Mahalo, Governor. Next, it is my pleasure to welcome Lieutenant Governor Sylvia Luke.
Aloha. Thank you to everyone for being here. I just want to say it has been just so extraordinary to watch the governor and his team work in lightning speed to provide support for our families. We hear every day about the struggles of just individuals who are not getting their paycheck, who are still being asked to go to work, but without a paycheck, and there's no guarantee that they're going to get their back pay. And because of that, the governor and his leadership and his team and DHS and their leadership have worked together to ensure that we provide the essential services for the people who really need it right now. We can hope for the federal government to end their shutdown, but we cannot just continue to wait. We have to respond right now, and it is with gratitude that we are here today to announce this program. The many community and the many nonprofits who are here, they work so hard. It's AUW, the food bank, the various food pantry, HCF, they continue to work hard. And when you see on social media and when you see different announcements of communities coming together to do food drives and food distribution. That tells you how special this place is. And so the governor, what he has asked our office to do is head up the statewide food drive distribution, or the food drive effort. So starting Monday, our office will be collecting non-perishable and canned goods. If you can kokua and bring your canned goods and non-perishable goods to our office, starting from Monday, we will collect them and work with the food bank and the various distribution centers. Also at the libraries, the library systems have agreed to collect the various food, canned goods and perishable items from Monday. We will announce the different locations that the food drives will be open. Even after the Maui fires, both the governor and I have been very grateful to the generosity of these people, and we are continuing to count on you, residents of this great state, to rise up and support each other. And mahalo to each and every one of you for caring our residents and caring for our people. So mahalo.
Mahalo, Lieutenant Governor. Now please welcome DHS Deputy Director Joseph Campos.
Aloha. As Governor mentioned, funding is being made available for those impacted by the financial hardship during these unprecedented times. This emergency support will ensure families remain stable during this period of federal disruption. I want to say thank you to Governor Green, First Lady, the executive team of the Governor's Office, the Hawaii State Legislature, our Hawaii Congressional Delegation, philanthropic organizations, and community-based organizations for their truly collaborative work in ensuring that we can help protect Hawaii's families. I want to also take a brief moment to thank the incredible staff of DHS, the Department of Human Services, especially our BESD division, who handles both TANF and SNAP. Their work has been extraordinary during this period of time to ensure that we have solutions. So thank you to the DHS staff, BESD, as well as also Medicaid, or MedQuest. Regarding the Governor's Hawai'i Relief Program, in order to qualify for the support, as Governor mentioned, families must have at least one dependent child under the age of 18. And I also want to stress that this includes women who are pregnant in their third trimester, because sometimes that is not made clear, so I want to make sure that that is clear as well. And they have to meet the guidelines. This program is separate from the existing TANF cash assistance that some people may already be receiving, and is specifically focused on emergency needs. We encourage all those who may qualify to apply. Let the Department of Human Services and our partners determine your eligibility, because we want to make sure that all those who are eligible do have an opportunity to take advantage of this program. We are partnering with Catholic Charities of Hawaii and Maui Economic Opportunity to process applications and deliver aid directly to landlords and utility providers to ensure immediate impact is received. More information is available on the DHS and Governor's websites. These actions reflect the commitment to act quickly, compassionately, and responsibly during this shutdown. In fact, if you go to any state website, a banner at the top will link you to these various programs that Governor mentioned today. 211 is activated as Hawaii's front line for families facing food insecurity and related needs caused by the federal shutdown. Live local specialists are available 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily, including holidays, to connect callers with help quickly and compassionately. How to reach us, dial 211 anywhere in Hawaii. Text 877-275-6569. Chat at auw211.org. In addition to food assistance, 211 provides wraparound service resources, connections to housing assistance, relief programs, health and human services, and keiki and kupuna support. Services include limited pre-screening, real-time interpretation in 180 different languages, and vetted, verified local referrals, so every family can access the right help at the right time. Mahalo to Michelle Bartel, President and CEO of Aloha United Way, and all the staff there who worked with Deputy Director Trista Spear yesterday and quickly stood up this 211 hotline to help all of Hawaii's families. Their partnership with the state of Hawaii is incredible and extraordinary. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Deputy Director Campos. Next, it is my great pleasure to introduce Senate President Ron Kochi.
Aloha. I'd like to begin by thanking everybody that Deputy Director Campos thanked in his remarks, since he covered everyone. And I'm not going to go through the details because the Governor, Lieutenant Governor, and Deputy Director Campos has covered that. My main goal today is to just assure the people of Hawaii that the Senate is working in collaboration with Speaker Nakamura, the House, Governor Green, and his administrative team to make sure that we protect the most vulnerable in our community. And again, we are at the beginning of some very challenging times, and it will require us to continue to work in a collaborative way to ensure the successful outcome for the people of Hawaii. Thank you.
Mahalo, Senate President Kochi. Up next, House Speaker Nadine Nakamura.
This morning, I spoke to 2 food banks on Kauai. One mentioned that some kupuna are panicking and some residents want to stock up now. Some of the leaders feel that they're staring at a cliff before them. And just yesterday, the Kauai Independent Food Bank prepared 190 bags of food for TSA and USDA workers at Lihue Airport. The loss of SNAP benefits, the government shutdown, the federal government's refusal to use $5 billion in contingency funds is unconscionable. No resident should go hungry in Hawaii. No child should face malnutrition. So on behalf of the House of Representatives, we applaud Governor Green and his team for coming up with this multi-range food response. We also mahalo our Attorney General for joining 24 other states in seeking reinstatement of SNAP benefits. I want to just highlight 2 programs that I'm really happy that are moving forward. One is the Farm to Families funding. So last session, we included in the budget $500 for each year, the next 2 years, for the Farm to Families program. This is one of the Majority Caucus's priorities. This will help local food banks purchase, store, and distribute fresh Hawaii-grown produce to meet the needs of those in our community. It will help our local farmers, supports food security, and will keep food dollars circulating in our communities. But most of all, our low-income families will have access to fresh, healthy foods, produce. The other major bill that I wanted to talk about is really Act 310, which set aside $50 million in funding for nonprofits who have been impacted by the loss of federal funds. And the deadline to apply for these funds was last week, Friday. We received 213 applications, $143 million of requests, and the public hearing is probably going on right now, where applicants are promoting their applications before a joint Senate and House committee. We are really happy to be partnering with Aloha United Way to administer this program, and we expect funding to be released in early December. So in closing, I just want to mahalo Governor Green, Lieutenant Governor Luke, Senate President, DHS for the incredible range of programs that has been discussed today. All of these programs will address this disruption in SNAP funding, and we have worked so quickly, really since Monday, to try, when we found out that all of these, the SNAP was going to be discontinued for the first time in 60 years, that we worked so quickly to get these programs up and running. So I also want to acknowledge and thank our nonprofit partners, especially the food banks, for ramping up so quickly to meet the needs of the moment. And in times like this, we all have a role to play. So please, as the Lieutenant Governor said, please come out and help out. Whether you can donate to a food bank, volunteer to pack and distribute food, and support your neighbor in need. All of these things will help to meet the needs at this moment. So mahalo.
Mahalo, Speaker Nakamura. Now please welcome Office of Hawaiian Affairs Chair Kaiali'i Kahele.
Aloha nui kako. Governor, we've come a long way. And it's great to be working with you again. Thank you so much for your leadership on this issue, bringing all of us together. Lieutenant Governor Luke, Senate President Kochi, and Speaker Nakamura, esteemed leaders and community partners, and to our beloved Lahui, mahalo for coming together in this moment of urgency, of compassion, and kuleana. When news of the hardships caused by the federal government shutdown reached us at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, our entire Oha Ohana, led by our Board of Trustees, moved swiftly to respond, not out of charity, but out of kuleana. Oha did what our kupuna would expect of us. We acted with aloha. Our decision to commit millions in emergency aid came from a place of identity and purpose, a reflection of who we are as Kanaka and what it means to care for one another in times of need. When crises strike, our visceral instinct as Kanaka is not to retreat, but to protect fiercely and to reach out to loved ones immediately. To see our neighbors, our kupuna, our keiki, and to say, we are in this together. That is the meaning of kako. That is the spirit of aloha, and that is at the heart of the Office of Hawaiian Affairs response. From the very beginning, our teams have worked tirelessly to make sure that Native Hawaiian families don't fall through the cracks, that there's food on the table, roofs overhead, and dignity preserved. We look closely at our trust funds to see where we could afford to be more generous, where we could make do responsibly so that others might make rent, so that they can keep the lights on, they can put food on the table. Yes, it's a sacrifice. Yes, it takes courage and risk. But the greater risk is doing nothing, in allowing our families to go hungry or to slip further into hardship. That's not the Hawaii we want to live in. And it's not the legacy we want our leadership to be defined by when crises reach our shores. Because this moment isn't just about an emergency response, it's about remembering who we are. Our ancestors crossed vast, dark oceans, guided by the stars, by the rising and setting of the sun, by faith, ingenuity, and aloha. That inheritance equips us to navigate any darkness, including this one. Now, there are times when our humanity calls us to do more, when we cannot be witnesses to suffering anymore, whether it's on the news, through our car or our office windows, or in the quiet of a grocery line where a family's shopping cart holds less than it should. In these moments, we remember who we are. We share our bounty because what's the point of abundance if it isn't shared? Our ali'i, our chiefs, were those who could feed the masses, who cared for and shared their aina momona so that no one went hungry. Families once moved from one ahupua'a to the next in search of leaders just like this, leaders who embodied aloha and lived generosity. That is the kind of leadership this moment calls for, and the role each of us have to step into this capacity. Now is not the time for thoughts and prayers alone. Now is the time for action and for aloha. There can be no bystanders in this moment. Everyone who has something to give, whether that's your time, your talent, or your treasure, can and must do so now. Our beloved Twinkle Borges, a fearless advocate for our houseless community, once shared, "Kuleana awakens the mana inside us." That's what we're seeing today. People awakening their mana, answering the kahea to serve. OHA answered the call by activating millions quickly and prudently, and we continue to do so, to build coalitions, to inspire giving, to show that leadership rooted in aloha is leadership that acts first. Because we knew we could not ask others to give boldly unless we first did so ourselves. And yes, I stand here as the chairperson of the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, but I also stand here as a father, a husband, a son, a nephew, and I bring all of these identities to bear in this plea to our community. Join us in this effort. Join the leadership of the state and of our community partners. Help us in this kako effort. We are not powerless in the face of hardship. We descend from those who survived far greater storms. And when one person hurts, all of us feel that pain. When one family struggles, all of us answer that call. That is who we are. That is aloha in action. And that is how we will get through this together. To those of you listening who need kokua, OHA is here for you. Visit www.oha.org and click on Emergency Relief Funds now. Information on how to apply will be announced very soon. And if you or someone you know needs kokua, please email kokua@oha.org. To receive this aid, you will need to register with the Office of Hawaiian Affairs Hawaiian Registry Program, and you'll find that link on oha.org as well. We're here to help, we're here for each other, and together we will carry our people through. Mahalo nui loa, and mahalo Governor Green for your leadership. Aloha.
Mahalo, Chair Kahele. Finally, I'd like to welcome the Hawaii Food Bank President and CEO, Amy Miller.
Aloha. I'm here speaking on behalf of Hawaii Food Bank and our sister food banks, the Maui Food Bank serving Maui County and the Food Basket serving Hawaii Island. Together, we work with a network of more than 500 partner agencies who work every day to get food in our communities to those who need it most. Before the current crisis, we were already serving far more people than we should. Right now, About 1 in 3 households in Hawaii is food insecure, meaning they don't have enough food for everybody to live a healthy, active lifestyle. About 1 in 10 of our households going without food for whole days, some or most months of the year. This is unacceptable. Right now, your food banks are serving about twice as many people as we did prior to the pandemic, and about as many people as we did during the height of the pandemic. So that's the current situation that we're in prior to the government shutdown. We feel so grateful to live in a state where people really do take care of each other. And we have state leadership that is stepping up to make sure people get the support they need to feed their families and have a roof over their heads. So your food banks are working collectively to ramp up distribution so that we can make sure everybody gets a nutritious meal. There are additional distributions. We are getting more food into community through our regular distributions as well. When SNAP payments are reduced or delayed, we will have additional ways for people to get healthy food as they need it as we move forward. Our mission is to ensure that nobody goes hungry. Every child, every kupuna, every family gets consistent access to safe and healthy food. So if you need help, please come hawaiifoodbank.org. We have distributions happening every single day across these islands. There's links there to our sister food banks at the Maui Food Bank and the Food Basket, so you can see where you can get help to good and healthy food today. We have another distribution happening tomorrow at Waipio. We are continuing to step up additional distributions every day to make sure people get access to what they need. And we are very grateful to our state and our philanthropic community for making sure we can make this happen. I will say our phones are ringing off the line. We're getting tons of people who are worried, really concerned about how they can put a meal on the table for their family tonight. And we're getting just as many calls from people who want to help. And again, how lucky are we to live in a place where people really do take care of each other? There are also ways that you can help on our website through donating, volunteering, collecting food. We want to be that place where you can help out your neighbor. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Amy, for your selfless leadership during this time. We will now begin the facilitated Q&A with media, and I'll invite the governor up to the podium. And first up is KITV Gil.
Hello, everyone. Hello. So, these benefits for families, especially for families with one or more children, people are calling into our newsroom, specifically furloughed workers who are just individuals with no family, and they're asking, what about us? So what's available for them, and where can they go to during this time? Because a lot of them are making too much money to reap the benefits of these programs, and they don't have access to them. So really, they're wondering, what about them?
Sure. So, and I'm sure we're going to dive into this a few more times, but right, there are going to be several different groups of people that will be able to access different parts of these relief programs. But for those who, for some reason, after calling 211, just don't fit in somehow or other, a couple things. Definitely the Hawaii Food Bank. That is going to be absolutely central. If we find that there are gaps, we have already begun some significant conversations with the philanthropic sector. It's too early to announce any of those programs. If we were to find a series of thousands of people, for example, that need a couple $100 extra for food, not only will we have the initial $2 million, but I would say it's pretty safe to say that the leadership at the House and Senate are going to be working on this in the next couple weeks, because there's extra resources from that $50 million. We're really trying to get people through this time of the shutdown. We also know that there are a lot of people that have been affected even if they didn't get furloughed. There are, for example, some waitresses and waiters that called me and said a lot fewer people are going to restaurants right now, and they have not made nearly as much money as they did in previous months. They can't find enough to get to their rent. That's what some of these other programs are going to do to help. But we recognize that it's not a one-size-fits-all. If you're a Hawaiian, as you know, our leader at OHAD, as Kai said very eloquently, you're going to be able to find some additional support there. It's really meant to be a partnership for all government, all peoples. Also, Sylvia LG is going to take up the charge to bring in a lot of extra food to the food bank. There of course, is also going to be other opportunities for people to apply for unemployment if they need it. But sometimes these resources come a little too slowly, and that's why no matter what the federal government does, we're going to put these programs and keep them in place. But also, I would say help your neighbor. You know, if a family of 4 is suddenly going to get a significant benefit from the TANF program, $6,000 or $8,000 to help pay their rent, help pay their mortgage, help deal with their electricity bill, then they're going to have that money to help friends with food. So it really is going to be, you know, an opportunity for us to all help one another.
Very quick follow-up. The card that was shown on the screen right there, is that going to be the card that families get in order for the help, or at least is it going to be in that form?
Well, that's their EBT card, is my understanding. And a special thanks to Scott Morishige. He worked around the clock with his team over these last couple days to find a way to make this work. You know, what has happened, and people might ask, why didn't we put this into place a month ago? Well, you know, the executive branch of the administration just a couple days ago decided they would not use that $5 billion to take care of SNAP benefits, for example. So, you know, we are at a loss why some parts of the government are not trying to help those who are suffering, but we're not at a loss to provide support. So it's coming in, you know, kind of rapid speed, and that's your card. If you already have an EBT card, it's going to get loaded up on or before the 14th of November with that multiplier of the number of people in your household that had qualified. Again, 4 people would get $1,000 on that card. And we do hope and expect the government will reopen. I'm thinking it's going to open up before Thanksgiving. I don't have any special intel, except that I think that the Congress is probably not going to allow the chaos of Thanksgiving to run over everybody in the country. Unfortunately, the chaos of hunger is hitting people next week. So please, everyone, give to Hawaii Food Bank or the Hawaii Community Foundation. Then they'll have extra resources to make sure everyone has adequate food.
Mahalo. Our next question comes from Dan, Honolulu Star Advertiser.
Thanks, Makana. Governor, just some detailed questions about the putting the funding onto the EBT cards. So they're supposed to be recharged starting November 1. You were talking about at least by November 14th. Is November 1 when people should start seeing the state government putting money in their EBT cards? And is that money only intended for 1 month? What if it goes into December? Are you prepared for that?
Yes. Okay, so Scott, do you want to come and say a word? I know you love being in front of the camera. You want Joe? Okay, Joe, come up. The basic answer is it'll be on or before November 14th. It could happen a couple days sooner. It's a process that takes several days. If we have another month of shutdown, we are prepared to reamp the support, very possibly from the philanthropic community. We've had some people reach out to us offering millions of dollars to work in partnership with us. In my heart, I don't believe this is going to go into December, but I cannot speak for the U.S. Congress. I just can't do it.
So specifically, we are working with our tech partner in order to, one, create all the mechanisms that are required to fund the EBT card. We do have to create a new trust account where the state funds will go, and that will be drawn from each of the EBT cards. So all of this does take a specific period of time. Our target date is the 14th, although as Gov mentioned in his remarks earlier, we are trying to push that to even sooner, but there also is a 4-day advance that we have to be acknowledging of. So in order to get it out by the 14th, everything has to be done by the 10th. Okay, so there are ways of working it, but we are working with our tech partners to get it done as soon as possible.
And Jerry, Scott had talked earlier this week about $350 about a month for each SNAP family. Governor talked about $750 for a family of 3. Was that $350 just an average, or is this funding going to make those SNAP recipients whole of what they would have gotten from the federal government starting November 1?
So the average that a SNAP recipient receives is $346. The state was able to do $250. Okay, so yes, it's not the full amount that they would normally get, but this is not the SNAP benefit, right? This is an emergency food assistance program that Gov has authorized, and it is $250 per person within the family. So a family of 3 would be $750, family of 4, $1,000.
Couple other comments. Though this is not that comforting, some people are going to still have some residual on their EBT cards still going into November. We don't know what percentage, but some people have been frugal and saving because they're also watching the federal shutdown like we are. I will break down the monies. The approach that we took was to have some of these monies come from TANF, some from the general fund. So this is a $42 million, $243,500 allotment. $28,567,600 comes from the general fund, and $13,675,900 comes from TANF. And we, of course, are working, hand in hand with the legislature to make sure that not only can we afford this, but that we can help people. These monies are going to be spent on our local businesses, in grocery stores, in small mom and pop shops over the next, almost immediately. All that money is going to come back into the economy over Thanksgiving and of course, December. Like we said earlier, if we have to, we will come back. We're not going to let anyone suffer. But as Amy pointed out, there's already so many people that are food insecure that we're advancing long-term plans to make sure food's available to everyone in a much better way. This is just a crisis that's been basically created by the shutdown.
Mahalo, Governor. Up next, Jeremy with Civil Beat.
Thank you, Makana. Thank you for your time, Governor. Back in about a month ago in September, you said that if there was a threat to our people's food security, you'd be immediately inclined toward a special session. I wondered whether the programs you've announced today mean that you've ruled out that possibility or dipping into the rainy day fund.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, the amount of monies we needed was manageable within our budget. We're in just the second quarter of the fiscal year. So we certainly have adequate monies across departments to carve out this $28,567,000. So we didn't need to have a special session. We were able to work it out just in collegial discussions. We do expect going into next year, if the economy is soft, if there's less tourism because of a recession that perhaps is set off by the federal shutdown, if there are fewer travelers, we'll work with the legislature and be partners in every way to see if we need to use rainy day funds. Right now, there is over $1.5 billion, almost $1.6 billion in the rainy day fund. Each year, about $60 million at least is generated in interest alone, so we can accommodate these needs. The large idea, the big idea that came out about which helped us to not need a special session was when I realized that we could actually access TANF funds, which had a $400 million surplus that's been going on for decades. TANF monies are typically very restricted. For instance, during the Maui wildfire, as you remember, we authorized also up to $100 million of expenditures, but you can't duplicate expenditures. So if the federal government is paying, for example, someone's rent, you can't also use TANF monies. In this particular case, we have the opposite challenge. The federal government has pulled back. They've pulled back on resources. So I realized this was an ideal opportunity to use TANF funds. So it didn't put a lot of pressure on the very solid budget that the House and Senate gave us. I essentially had to come up with a much smaller number. We also are only 10 weeks away from the legislative session right now. So we had the capacity to do it. If things change, we are in communication daily. So we're always available. But there's no magic to a special session. The budget is fluid enough in a state like ours because we've been pretty prudent with our money to have these resources. For example, we had a carryover balance, yes, but we also had about $500 million that was otherwise lapsed last year, which went back to the general funds. Those are bigger discussions, of course. But we want to always have a safety net for our people for this kind of moment exactly.
Mahalo, Governor. Up next, Ashley, HPR.
Hi, Governor. Over the past few days during the informational briefings with senators and House members, it was said that it would be really difficult to actually put these funds onto the EBT cards, and that's why it wasn't necessarily being considered in the immediate term. So I'm wondering what changed over like the last 2 days, and also where the $30 million from the state funds are coming from. Is that from restricting particular departments? Where is it coming from?
So, yeah, it was a hard challenge when we first brought it up, but we worked through it. You know, the truth is a lot of people work 20-hour days to figure out the technical changes that had to be made, and so it was doable. Sometimes people think these things are easy. You're talking about, you know, over 100,000 people, but we do have a lot of very savvy tech people, and so we were able to get that money from general funds over to the SNAP cards. You know, the reason we have, you know, legislative hearings is to have ideas and, in fact, to put pressure on ourselves. When some of the senators, like when Senator San Buenaventura asked probing questions, it pushed us, and that's a positive thing to make sure that we would get whatever was necessary done to the people. We always knew that we were going to make sure we had food monies for people. There's no question about that. But, you know, which mechanism was best remained to be seen. There were some people that were recommending what some other states are doing, which is third-party cards. But you're kind of building a whole system from scratch when you do that. Interestingly, in this case, because we went through the exercise with the Maui wildfire to explore how one might look at a large appropriation, $100 million of TANF, we learned a lot internally on how that could be done. And that opened up an enormous opportunity for us to help families, essentially Alice families, get through this. That was the biggest success we had, probably tied with Scott and his team's work to make sure that SNAP could be, you know, kind of, supported by this $250 appropriation. Again, they're separate. They're technically different programs, the typical SNAP program from the federal government versus our new Hawaii Food Assistance Program. It's important to note that because, humbly, we are litigating against the federal government for this hard stop on SNAP. We don't feel it's appropriate. I'm not judging. I'm just saying it's too harsh, okay? So we may prevail in court. There could be injunctions, but I'm not going to put our quote-unquote eggs in that basket. I'm going to make sure we put eggs in people's refrigerators with this program.
And then where did the $30 million come from the state budget?
It's basically from our general funds. You know, we do have opportunities from multiple departments. I might need a clarification. Yes, Sabrina, or yes?
So there is money in the State Department's restrictions, and so Budget and Finance is working to release restrictions so that we can provide the funding for this. And then in addition to your first question, so as Gov mentioned, you know, in the beginning, we did think that there would be a problem putting it on the EBT card. Thanks to the hard work of the BESD staff, we were able to find out that no, we could. There was also the concern that the federal government might stop the use of the EBT card. So had we funded the EBT card, it would not have been able to have been used. So that has not been done. There is a commitment that that won't be done, you know, because people sometimes do still have balances on their card. And so that's the reason why, with the hard work, we were able to do the deep dive and find out that we could.
I should make another mention. So I mentioned that we'll be using essentially $40 million to guarantee some food security for people because SNAP has been, I guess, frozen. We will be seeking reimbursement from the federal government after this shutdown is done for any resources that we end up paying that were due to our people from federal dollars. Whether or not we'll get them, it's hard to know. We care about people first, and so we're going to take care of people first, and we'll worry about that as time goes by. It's our job to, you know, as Kai shared, to care for one another. I mean, that's really what our values are. And so whether they change rules on us or give us a curveball in the middle of these crises. We're committed to getting people through the holidays with this resource. And then we'll have the legislature back in full force, and that empowers us in all sorts of additional ways to bring large amounts of extra resource. I hope to God we're not still in a shutdown come 2026, because that will change everything for us. Also, I will share that I was in Washington, D.C. last week for 2 days, Thursday and Friday, and I'm negotiating a multi-billion-dollar package, for our state. It's a much larger question. We all are concerned about what has been proposed by the federal government, for example, on Pohakaloa. We've been getting great input from all of our partners, from OHA, from our leadership at DHHL. A lot of resources could end up coming to us from the federal government. Also, there are some other nations that have made commitments to the United States, Japan, for example, hundreds of billions of dollars. We're hoping a lot of that resource does land in Hawaii, because we are committed to having this state be the healthiest state and the most functional state in the country. But those are questions that won't be answered for some time.
Mahalo, Governor. Moving to Nathan with KHON2.
Thanks, Makana. Governor, you kind of touched on this a little bit already, but we don't know how long this shutdown is going to last. We really have no idea. And so our question is just, for people who depend on the Department of Defense for their paychecks right now, if the shutdown is to go into the period where they run out of money as well, is this something that those people can take advantage of these benefits as well?
Say that last sentence again.
If these people can take advantage of these benefits if the Department of Defense is to run out of money.
That is one of the challenges, and we were discussing that right before. We're going to do all that we can to make our resources available to anyone who's living in the state of Hawaii. There are some rules based on people who are living on bases versus off bases, and that is a concern. But at the end of the day, we're certainly going to make extra resources available at the food bank and through donations for any of our soldiers or their families. It's a big challenge. I will say this. I am talking to a lot of governors and senators right now. There does seem to be some movement. They're going to start feeling the pain when not only do people start missing additional paychecks, but when large premium spikes occur with the Affordable Care Act, when people, of course, in many states don't have a solution like Hawaii does to support food needs. There's going to be a lot of pressure on the Congress to come out of this, this death spiral and reopen the government. So I have some confidence that by mid-November they will. But we will be here ready to support people's food needs and housing needs. As you can see, we have a 4-month plan, basically, with the TANF dollars. And if we have to come back month over month for additional food dollars and food security, we'll do it.
Mahalo, Gov. Up next, Annalisa, Hawaii News Now.
Thanks, Makana. So just before I ask my main question, just real quickly, the $250, is that for every SNAP recipient right now, regardless of what they get from the federal government? Because some are getting less than that.
Yes. We decided, because it's a very short window to operationalize this program, to not overthink it, to simplify it. So we're trying to find a good kind of target where it'll be enough food for families to get the basics. We would encourage people to really, get the essential foods that they need, the staples during this period. And this should be enough to pay for groceries for people, for the month. But that's right. Anybody who has been qualified for SNAP, they're going to be qualified immediately for the program. We couldn't do a lot of nuance because it was difficult enough just to be able to put these dollars onto the cards.
Okay, so no new application process or income eligibility type of thing. Okay.
No, it had to be really simple and straightforward. I will tell you that I was, given the proposal $150, $200, or $250. I chose $250 just because needs have been so significant. And I think that there's a lot of uncertainty that's been going on for some time. And people we're told, scrimping on food, shorting themselves. And I'm very worried about people's nutrition. We have people in the military that have been going without food. We did a survey of college students and found a lot of hunger and poverty amongst those who are even going to college right now. the obvious disparities exist on the neighbor islands. They're very significant. Those of us who've represented the neighbor islands know that it is even harder there. So we wanted to err on the side of the higher number. Again, I have spoken to some philanthropists. They're very willing to support us month over month. And soon the legislature, who have been fantastic partners right in the moment, they know that this is going to be one of the big challenges to make sure our budget is balanced. I would anticipate that it's going to be a challenging year coming up, and we will have to look at a lot of different ways to make sure that we care for people and we balance our budget. But that rainy day fund is very solid right now, and so we're grateful for that.
Okay, and the TANF question I had was, so you're using some of the TANF funds for this new program. Are you worried, does that need to be approved by the Trump administration? Are you worried that committing it to this type of use will, kind of risk us losing it in the future?
Yeah, I'm not worried. Part of the need for me to spend a lot of time, I was with 4 cabinet secretaries on Thursday, and another one I'm seeing a week from now at the Western Governors Association meeting. I have a very good working relationship with them. They understand that there has to be a significant commitment to Hawaii because Hawaii is very front-facing for the Indo-Pacific. We have many people from all across the country living in Hawaii. They know that we have to have health security and food security. And so I think Hawaii in some ways has been a special case. And so that's why I'm able to work through some of these problems with them. It doesn't mean we don't have deep disagreements ideologically. We do. But the cabinet has been very understanding of where we are as a people. And that's why I say I will reach out to the Secretary of Agriculture after this and explain that we decided to step up in this way. You have a lot of our local people. You have a lot of military people that are living in Hawaii that are also hungry. This is not a time for a contentious moment between the mainland and Hawaii. And that was made abundantly clear and was actually very well received back in Washington, D.C. I will also tell you that, our CODEL, they're working very hard. They want this to end. But there are some pretty big impasses right now. We cannot see 100% increase in people's health care coverage costs through the Affordable Care Act. That's what we're facing right now. If something's not done, that will cause a whole new crisis that will spread across every state in the country. That's the kind of thing they're fighting about. I do hope that they come to some kind of agreement because right now I'm most worried about people who are suffering economically becoming hungry. We're not going to be punished ultimately for trying to help people.
Okay, Gov, one more question here.
Yes, Governor, Hawaii, along with several other states, is suing the federal government. How effective do we expect these lawsuits to be?
I have a lot of faith in our Attorney General, Lopez. She's been terrific. I mean that from my heart. It's funny because while working with the federal government on some issues, we also have some litigation. We're just trying to represent what our values are and keep our programs intact. We do not make it personal. We just try to get through these challenges. I think there's a good chance that there could be an injunction against the freeze and snap, and that would be good because then we will have both those benefits back on people's cards and we will have our program available to people. But the way it has tended to go is one court will rule one way and then an appeal will occur, and that creates uncertainty for people while they're just trying to buy groceries. That's why we're going forward no matter what until the government shutdown is over. Once the government shutdown is over, everyone's going to try to work together again, and that probably will mean that some of the lawsuits will end. They won't be a big deal. I think that Makana has become fed up because God knows what I will say next. But I will I'll make myself a little bit available later today. Okay, so just in summary, thank you, Kai. Thank you for being here. Speaker, Senate President, LG, awesome always. Amy, team, you guys are great. It is a great challenge for everyone right now. People are hurting. Help your neighbor. If you have any chance to help someone down the street who is worse off than you or is maybe not going to qualify for any of these, multiple programs, We will continue to support the food bank, but ultimately, we're going to get through this fine. There's a lot of resources available. Please be patient. Call 211. Make sure you take advantage of these resources so that you have your rent covered or your mortgage covered, and most importantly, food for your kids. Aloha.
Mahalo. This formally concludes today's presser. E malama.